friends, welcome to We the Weary World. I'm Jackie Lee Howard, and today's guest is my beloved friend, Chef Brooke Preston. This is the final segment in our conversation, so please go back and listen if you haven't already. Please keep going. Love ya.
What I love is you always make it so accessible to people. So many of us are on autopilot in regards to what we're putting in our bodies. And a lot of it is rewiring, rethinking how you eat. You're setting yourself up in the morning so that the cravings aren't as present. And you're providing yourself this act of love every day so that when you do go out or eat out with people, it's joyful and not some default.
Right. When it's a default, it's like those little habits. For me, I have loved coffee since I was 10 or 11. And that was a ritual that I had with my father. And coffee was my go-to for energy, for focus, for it felt really nourishing to me.
Mm-hmm.
It was just this thing. It's the smell, it's the this, it's the that, And I had this whole thing about coffee. So coffee has been this slippery slope in my life, right? Where I'm like, oh, I need to release coffee, and then I'll go back to it and all of that, and then I'll release it again. And it's this, but there's you can really stop the noise in your head and the judgment against yourself when you have fortified your system, and then you make those decisions. If I were to go out and have a cup of coffee with somebody, I'm not drinking coffee anymore, but if I went out and a coconut milk latte with lavender in it, as a celebration, that is really special, and there's no head noise associated with that. And when that head noise starts talking to you, you're doing this wrong, you're screwing up, or you're, whatever judgment that is, it lowers your vibration.
Mm-hmm.
If it's just a joyful experience, but if I had this beautiful latte and the next day, maybe I got some news that I wasn't so happy about, and I was like, oh, I think you know what would cheer me up? Maybe one of those. And then the next day I'm a little bit tired because I tapped my adrenals the day before and the day before that. And then I'm like, F it. I'm just going to make myself an espresso. And then I start doing that on the daily. That's when it becomes just, it's not an honored experience anymore. It's not sacred.
Mm-hmm.
When it becomes that mindless energy, that's when we find ourselves going down the wrong direction. And so it's just a pullback.
Yeah.
And that's true with any habit that we're doing when it comes to our food. Is this really special? Like if you love Taco Tuesdays, I always use this example. If you love Taco Tuesdays and that is so meaningful for you, great. Maybe Taco Tuesdays once a month instead of every week, and at your favorite place out. And then on the other 3 weeks of the month, you're hacking your own Taco Tuesday in your own space with your organic ingredients, and you're being more mindful and putting your love into it. So there's ways to still have those joy moments and be healing.
I love that. I just read this book called Micro Joys, and it reminds me a lot of that it's like this practice of joyful eating, because so many of us, my experience with food has been a very, very difficult, complex relationship. And one of the things that has always stuck with me is understanding that when you're changing habits, there's some discomfort. You always would say in class, you just have to sit on your hands a little bit. Like you have to just allow your itself to be a little bit uncomfortable. But if you can create joy while you're changing those habits so that the new habits are fun and enjoyable and purposeful, I have found that changes everything. It really, like, romancing food again, romancing what we're putting in our bodies and how we're doing it. It doesn't have to be some mundane practice that you do 3 times a day. It's an act of love and rebellion. And what I think is so cool, Brooke, is now you've like upped your level. So it's never just been about food with you, but like it is the full somatic experience of healing now.
Right.
After talking to you last year, first of all, I went down a deep rabbit hole of gut health and how it's fully connected to many chronic illnesses. So much of our existence in regards to illness comes from what we are putting in our bodies. It's just like, I don't know why it feels so shocking, but it's like, wow, it is all so related. And what you're saying about glyphosate, oh my gosh, we are.
Sister, do you know that glyphosate was originally patented as an antibiotic?
Wow.
We know what antibiotics do to our gut microbiome.
Yeah.
And then it was repatented and became Agent Orange.
I read that because it's a whole part of Roundup. Yes.
That's right. And then it became an herbicide.
Yeah.
And what we don't understand is that when we're collectively going out and grabbing a coffee and a pastry or a muffin when we're out, typically, I mean, it is very rare that a commercial space or coffee shop or whatnot is using organic flours. If it's not organic, it has been sprayed with glyphosate after harvest because it's a desiccant. So it is sprayed after, and then we're using that in our food supply all the time. We've got all these gluten sensitivities and issues today. It's really much less than what we think, but the reaction in the body is because the proteins are not, we're not able to connect the dots anymore because we have so much glyphosate injury. So we're not processing the same way. Another big culprit there is wine. People love their Napa wines, their California wines. California has the highest level of pesticide use on their grapes. I don't mean to be so like, but like people just don't know.
Yeah.
They're grabbing a muffin with coffee. They're having a glass of wine when they're out with friends. They have no idea how heavy that load is taking on their overall well-being, their immunity, their mental health, their physical health, their inflammation, their experience of life. Even like I found that through really cleansing, I was nicer.
I think what's interesting too is this part in my life. I'm 35. I have watched my body change quite a bit these past few years. I have started a couple medications. I have a reproductive health issue that is chronic and debilitating. You and I talked about this. I read Dr. Gundry. He's a cardiac surgeon, Plant Paradox, and he talks a lot about leaky gut and microbiome. Really interesting book. And so I've been like focused on anti-inflammatory. I've removed wheat. I've removed so many things, but my body has not shifted. And I'm heavier weight-wise than I think I've ever been. And so I am going to really think about what that means for me. And maybe the nutrients that I'm putting into my body are not truly being absorbed in the ways they should be. Gonna follow up with you. And I would love to include this information for our listeners. You've really inspired me. Thank you. You always do. What makes you feel your best?
Honestly, it is that daily practice of self-love and connection and speaking what's true in love.
I love that. That's so nice. What advice would you give your younger self or someone walking through similar struggles?
What I now understand is that love is infinite and it grows when it's watered. So as I actually do love myself and invest in that, it actually allows me to invest more in the things that are part of who I am and the people that are part of who I am. The more you feed it, the more it grows. So when you start here, it can then go healthfully out.
That's so true, that watering and nurturing yourself only expands your ability to love and nurture others. Really beautiful. What do you feel the most proud of in your life?
Like my brain starts to spin with I don't know, I don't even know how to answer that. I'm most proud of my daughter.
Yeah.
Being who she is, despite my imperfections as a mother. I look at her and I'm amazed. I think the desire, to continue to evolve and grow and take a hard look at the reflection of me, radically being honest with myself as much as I am able. And then leaving the rest up to daily bread. We have daily bread. The manna that is available to us on a daily basis, we don't get to store that shit up. I mean, it will rot. So what is in today? And that's all we need to worry about. And really letting that integrate into this allows me to have a lot more freedom to bring whatever.
To bring that Leo fire.
Yes.
I am so proud of you for the mother that you are. I bared witness to a lot of years of mothering your beautiful child. And what I love about you is your transparency, your ability to recognize when you make mistakes and have conversations around it, to hear you acknowledge your struggles and mistakes as a human being. I just love that. And your daughter is truly an amazing human being. What I also love about you, and I'm so proud of, is I've seen so many versions of you. I've seen so many stages, and I think that speaks on your willingness to change, to evolve, to grow, to do the work, to show up for yourself. These are all things that you're challenging others to do to help better themselves. And you yourself are doing that work. I've actually witnessed you do that work and seen you come out on the other side more vibrant and happy and fulfilled and balanced. And so proud of you, Brooke. So proud. Thrilled to have you on. And you have so much to offer to people with struggles in nutrition and wellness and somatic health and all of it. And where can people go to get more support from you?
I am so grateful to come alongside people in their journey. And it is multidimensional. So it's nutrition, it's practicing things that are going to really raise your vibration, ground you, really speaking into dreaming the big dreams and allowing those to come forward, calming the central nervous system, working through some of those things that are still acting as residue in our lives and influencing our future. We do virtual 30-day nutritional transformations, which include a host of all of those other things, because we are not just our body, and yet, the spirit influences the body, the mind influences the body influences the mind. It's all interrelated. So addressing each part of that is a big deal. It is a really big deal. And it helps to root in the practices because it's touching all of us and becoming a sustainable part of our lives. Just absolutely loving that. So that's how everybody can get in touch with us.
If anyone is in California, I highly recommend you put on an amazing event. It is a full body experience. You inspire me every day. I am so thankful to have such a sisterhood with you. And thank you so much for being on my podcast.
I love you so much, Jack.
I love you too.
I love you so much. You are right here, sister. Thank you for having me.
Bye. Take care.
You too, love.
I want to thank my dear friend Brooke Preston for this candid conversation and for all of you listening. I hope you got so much out of her conversation and you can be gentle with yourselves this week. Please keep going.